I made the mistake of researching something called the Mandela Effect on the internet a couple weeks back, and my mind is engulfed in this idea. Let's talk about it. I want you to be informed. I want you to converse with me. It's so weird. So, I'm not sure if many of you know about this thing. It seems like a more recent internet social media phenomenon. It's called the Mandela Effect, and it's named after Nelson Mandela and the fact that people think he died twice. Basically, what the Mandela Effect is a rewriting of history or a rewriting of memories. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but basically, some really common knowledge, commonly known things amongst most of a majority of people, at least in this country, if not globally. I'm still confused. A lot of American culture things are changing, and I'm sure it's worldwide, but there's different theories to what it is. But first, I just wanted to give you some examples so you can either stop the video and Google them, or you can Google after the video. They'll still be there. This weird stuff. So, some examples being Berenstain Bears. Some people thought the spelling of it was Stain, others thought it was Stein. It's stuff like that. So basically what people are saying is they grew up knowing it as Berenstain Bears, right? The Berenstain Bears. And when it had the cartoon, Berenstain Bears. But now, if you look at any of the books, it's spelled Stain, and to me that was one of the more confusing ones. And people are like, well, how could this be? Was it always Stain, or was it Stein, and now it's different? Like, some people blow it off, and then others are like, oh my god, my mind hurts. Other examples are in the movie A Field of Dreams. It now says, if you build it, he will come, instead of if you build it, they will come. Also, in Star Wars, not sure which one, was never the biggest fan. However, when you find out that Darth Vader is Luke's father, the infamous line that reads, Luke, I am your father, is now, no, I am your father. And it's weird shit like this, right? Like, interview with a vampire is now interview with the vampire. It's really dumb, basic shit, right? Like, look it up. There's a list. If you Google, you'll see so many things that are just different, a lot of them being really subtle changes that don't really make sense, whether it's with spelling or whatever. I watched this video on it because I'm fascinated by this topic, whether it's fraud, a facade. I want to know what the F it is and why it started and like what happened. But I've been getting into a lot of information. There's this man, Fritz Sperlinger, I think is how you say it. He actually lives here in Portland, Oregon, which is kind of wicked. He's like a mile from my place. But he talks a lot about the Mandela Effect and makes some sense of it. And you might think this is a off-the-wall, fly-off-a-handle topic, and that's fine, because in passing, it seems like conspiracy theorist weirdness, what's happening, you're looking too deep kind of thing. But then when you take a step back and you look at it, it's like, well, why is that different? Like, why is that getting fucked with? And Fritz talks a lot about how it could actually be a lot different than we think, which would actually be a lot scarier than we think. I want to get into that in a minute, but first, I want to put this out there. This video isn't to make you believe in anything. It's a weird topic that I am fascinated by. The people I talk to about it are also fascinated, so I just kind of wanted to make a video. I'm not really giving you any new information. I'm curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are, because the theories I'm reading about are insane. Like, everything from ever since December 21st, 2012, we entered into this new phase of the Kali Yuga, which is the cycle that Earth ebbs and flows in. Actually, the whole universe would, but Earth being in its point of the Kali Yuga that it's at, also a fascinating subject, and we'll do a video on that soon. But then there's other people who are saying that it's a parallel universe that we've stepped into or we're moved into. There's others who believe that it is the global elite opening up a gate to hell, or known as CERN, and with, the CERN labs in Switzerland, and frankly, it is kind of creepy that their logo, or their mascot, I guess you would call it, right outside their headquarters facilities is Shiva, the goddess of destruction. So, I mean, there are some weird things pointing in that way that could absolutely be true, but Fritz was talking about how it could actually just be a psyops program of our own government onto us, the people, to fuck with your psyche, to kind of question your own memory, to make you wonder, well, wait, I grew up believing it was this, that's being challenged, I'm being shown factually that it's this, what's happening? And now I'm not picking any one of these theories because honestly they're all fascinating, okay? And they're all plausible, so don't count any of them out, but it's interesting to hear this one where the elite would be in charge of making the masses feel psychotic. Because honestly, I will tell you, the moment you decide to get engulfed in this, theory of what is the Mandela Effect, you will question what you believe. It's really weird. Hundreds of thousands of people across the world are talking about this issue. When you Google it, you'll read comments in discussion areas that will blow your mind. I mean, people really... There's some people who walk off the deep end and who are like, believe me or you will die. Like, those people I don't usually trust. But then there's others who completely shut this out, and I don't trust them either, because it's like, well, you're witnessing it. Your senses are picking this up. You see visually that something was spelled different in the 80s and 90s, and now it's, what the fuck? Interview with a vampire makes sense. Interview with the vampire? That doesn't make sense. You look up interviews on YouTube with Tom Cruise saying interview with a vampire. It's really weird. Why in the world go back and change it? Why in the world would a parallel universe have a different one? Mind blown. Why would elite want us to feel psychotic in that sense? I mean, see, that's the other thing. We don't understand our minds. And we don't understand that our minds are not our brain. Your brain is something completely different than your mind. And we don't even talk about that. We don't talk about how the brain is just a computer that the mind can flow through, like internet through a computer. Like, it's fascinating, the stuff we don't talk about, and without talking about how in the fuck can we ever understand what it is, what it's used for, what it could be. When they talk about you only use 10% of your brain, I always grew up thinking, oh, that's literal, like 10%, this little chunk in my brain's being used. No. A lot of your brain's being sedated and numbed, and they're making it so you don't use it. Our minds are fascinating, and it's really cool, and I want to save a lot of that for a discussion on the mind and the brain and consciousness. But with this Mandela effect, I mean, do you wonder, what if a rich elitist family, bloodline, what have you, I try to steer clear of the word Illuminati because people use it wrong, and the Illuminati would be illuminated people. Now, you could argue illuminated information being held from the masses, but illuminated to me makes it seem like for the power of the good. They're illuminating anything with light. I'm not going to give the credit to a group that keeps themselves in a shroud of secrecy. There's no point in giving them that title. So they're the elite. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about it, but it's not to take away from what you might be thinking. I'm sure it falls along the same lines. But when you learn about all of this MK Ultra mind control shit that's actually going on, that the CIA has, made information privy to the public via the Freedom of Information Act, like, this stuff is real. You can choose to not investigate and not believe it, but that doesn't make it not true, and that doesn't mean it's not being used on you to its full potential, which is insane. In Orange is the New Black, my boyfriend and I were talking about how last season, the panty sniffing season, which was absolutely awful, and I didn't even want to watch this season because of how bad that was, my boyfriend told me they received a lot of criticisms, and now we're being kind of directed into being more impassionate about what prisons really like, what inmates really deal with. The fact that inmates are actually a lot more close, like family would be, because they're dealing with the harassment and the abuse from the correctional officers and the actual people that the government employs, which is scary. Look into it. We've talked about how, the water in prisons and the runoff outside of prisons is toxic. It's chemicals, it's waste. It's really bad. Any surrounding areas by a prison, it's polluted, it's really toxic. They're talking about all this in Orange is the New Black. They took the information to heart, and the reason I brought this up in this video was... Now I forgot. You guys, I can't remember. But the new season is talking about so much factual information that I was just really impressed with their ability to kind of call out these agencies of government and call out this stuff that normal programming can't get away with. Netflix is allowing a lot more freedom, along with HBO and some direct TV channels. It's really cool seeing what we're getting. I'm veering way off this topic. There was something really cool about Orange is the New Black that I wanted to relate to this video. I cannot remember it right now. But anyways, check out Orange is the New Black. This season is fucking awesome. I love what they're talking about. But yeah, with this Mandela Effect, super fucking weird. Some of it includes deaths of people. Some of it includes titles of movies or books, lines in movies or books. The really interesting one that I believe Fritz also speaks on is how they're messing with language. Okay, and how they're taking away symbolism amongst humanity and how they're destructuring it. And I don't really have much more to say on this topic right now because I'm still watching videos of his and learning. But just that topic alone scares me a little bit because we're seeing a generation of kids coming out who speak completely different language. Like, put a kid of this generation next to anyone over the age of 60 and the conversation is lost. Like, it's interesting. I think Common Core Math is attributing, I think, things like that in vernacular everyday usage. I think emoticons. I think there's a lot of stuff going into play here that we think is super fun and we buy into, and it's gimmicky. Oh, give me my Facebook, but don't tell me it's tracking me and watching every move. Don't tell me that the new Facebook application on your phone listens to a conversation so intently that the next time you talk to your best friend via Facebook, it promotes ads on conversations you've had previously on the phone. Scary. Like, when did the Twilight Zone become reality? What is happening? Your Facebook app on your phone can listen to a conversation without your permission because you already gave it downloading the app, and then can sell you shit. It's scary. Anyways, welcome to 1984, said George Orwell. I hope everybody will check out something to do with the Mandela Effect. It will blow your mind. Have an open mind when you're taking information like this in. I understand how cuckoo bananas it sounds. I understand people telling you, oh, reality isn't real, makes it feel weird, and you want to write them off as a conspiracy theorist or a psycho, and I get that, but the moment you write somebody off, as Dave Chappelle so eloquently put, you completely negate the ideas and the information they can feed you. Just because you didn't live your lifestyle and understand information and take things in and dissect it in the same way doesn't mean it's wrong. So open minds, have conversation, Google Mandela Effect, and let it sink in. Take care of yourselves for the rest of the day. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. No, I am your father. It was never no, I am your father. Kids are gonna